Punchcast, where we dive deep with game-changing founders and venture investors shaping the future. Today, we're thrilled to have JC Glancy, an unstoppable entrepreneur and co-founder of Zen Business, a unicorn startup that surpassed $100 million in ARR within just 5 years. JC's on a mission to build his next billion-dollar venture. Known for his sharp wit and boundless creativity, JC's journey spans humble beginnings in Ohio to disrupting entire industries. JC, we're glad to have you. All right, so hopping into our next episode of Punchcast, where we feature amazing entrepreneurs of the likes of JC Glancy here, our current guest, unicorn founder at 100 million ARR, if I'm not mistaken. That's the last I read. Anyways, maybe set the record straight. Let's just stop right there.
I mean, those are the public numbers. It's a little better than that.
Okay. Touche. All right. So where does the spunk come from, JC? Have you always been wired this way to?
Yeah. I mean, my dad was a psychopath, but like in the best way, and super high energy guy and really gregarious and outgoing. And so that's definitely where my mom's kind of got it too. They both do. I don't know. Both of them like super extroverted, outgoing, and, even keel and fun. Pretty much it comes from obviously my parents and my, upbringing. My family's like of Hungarian descent. And so a lot of just gregarious people. Oh, and Irish as well. So you kind of get
Nice.
probably get a mix of the two fun, European countries there.
Cool. Yeah. So I do want to dig into your childhood before we get on the unicorn trail and thereafter with your latest company, which is in stealth. We'll save details for later and get the latest, the scoop. But what were you like growing up? I mean, if I'm not mistaken, we connected. It was this summer.
Yeah.
Right. We were in Madrid sharing a drink in a nice hotel lobby. And you went into a fair bit of depth as far as your experiences in Florida. And even before that in Ohio as one of, was it 13 children?
No, well, that was my dad.
Okay.
Yeah. So huge family. I just like only child. And I have a half brother, Bobby. He's 21 years older than me. We never lived together. He's awesome, but super chill star. But no, as far as my childhood goes, really like I was raised in a very entrepreneurial household. My dad was a small business owner. My mom was a Mary Kay consultant. So she, sold cosmetics. So both my parents kind of had their own, small businesses. My first real exposure to the world of entrepreneurship and small business management was literally, I was raised in Homerville, Ohio, more cows than people. And really it was just riding around in the front seat of my dad's pickup truck, with the windows down in the summer, delivering coffee and donuts to the crew in the morning. Beyond that, which I think is super interesting and of note, is like my dad wasn't a natural born entrepreneur. He was forced into it because he was a pile driver. And for those who don't know what a pile driver is, it's a very dangerous blue collar job where you drive these huge, steel beams into the ground with a 2-ton hammer to create the foundation for bridges. And so my whole family does that. Like my brother, all my uncles, my cousins, every single person, really. That was my family and like very blue collar Rust Belt type of situation. And my dad got a 30-foot long steel pipe dropped on his shoulder and neck and like almost killed him. Broke his back, had to have like a bunch of fused back surgeries. And so he couldn't work anymore. But he got what they call workers' comp in the States. I think it was, I don't know, a couple $100,000 or something because like, he could never work again. And then he, basically there's two reasons people create companies worldwide. It's opportunity and necessity, right? And so he was forced out of necessity to, make money to provide for his family. So he used that money and started his business.
Cool. So that's maybe the roots. That's what started your entrepreneurial journey as well. I mean, do you imagine there's some tie there between your father, your mom, her background? What got you into this exactly? It doesn't quite equate. You're not like the standard Silicon Valley founder who goes to MIT, drops out, right? Gets funded by Sequoia from the outset.
Yeah. No, by all statistical accounts, man, I should not be here right now. And I think, a lot of people try and quantify what makes unicorn founders tick and the like. And I don't know the answer to that other than like, I just love proving people wrong, especially when they say I can't do something. And my dad was the same way. My mom was the same way. I think we're all very stubborn and headstrong in that sense. Really, I think what I learned from both my parents, but primarily my father, was like just absolute grit and resilience. Like I never saw my dad give up on anything ever. And that was kind of ingrained in me from a very young age. So it's like, I don't know how to give up. And that's probably to my detriment at some points, I'm sure. But I think that's really where it comes from. It's like my dad didn't have the opportunity to decide to be an entrepreneur. He was forced into it. And that's not for most people. And somehow he made an entire, like life and company and success out of it in his essentially second career. Cause I mean, he had me when he was 45. So this is like he was already all the way basically kind of through his career at that point when he had to start over. And so getting to see him having to rebuild his body and his life from scratch, I think when I reflect on it, it's super inspirational. And I really haven't noticed it until this moment. But yeah, I mean, that gives me a lot. Like if he can do it, then, why can't I, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
And you have. And I mean, you still are, we hope.
Yep. Still
I saw something, Palmer
one.
Luckey, right? Founder of
Oh my
Oculus
God,
Prime.
Andrew. I love Andrew.
Right. And he was sharing the story behind getting fired at Meta post Oculus Prime at like the $1 billion exit or whatever it was, north of that maybe. And he said he wanted to ensure, like he didn't want to be classified as a loser because he was like a one-hit wonder, right? And then comes Anduril. So some people really have a chip on their shoulder as well. And Jerry Colonna is a CEO coach tied into the folks at Union Square Ventures. And it's funny, when he gets on a call, I've seen it, he'll elicit folks like founders crying on screen, right, over Zoom. And he likes to tap into the dynamic of the parents as well, because oftentimes there's like the children are filling a void. Maybe their father was absent or was an alcoholic or what have you, and they now signed that role of superhuman or hero. So they feel. Mm-hmm. So totally. Anyways, worth touching on maybe.
I totally agree with that. I mean, the way I noticed what makes me tick was I was listening to Howard Stern one day and in the car, and
it's always a great start to a conversation.
Yeah. I know this one's good. It's very PG. And he was talking about, in therapy, why he ultimately wanted to become a radio DJ. And the reason was because his father was like a radio engineer. He would be riding in the car with his dad, and he would be trying to talk to his dad. His dad would just shut him up all the time because his dad had so much respect and reverence for the people that were on the radio. Howard thought that, hey, if I could get into that radio, then my dad will finally listen to me, right?
Wow.
And so and that was super powerful. And I was like, oh, and then I started reflecting on my relationship with my father. And I was thinking about it, and I was like, okay, for as much as I love my dad, he was an amazing guy. Like everyone has their faults, right? And my dad was obsessed with money, like completely obsessed. Like he wouldn't spend a dime on anything. He was the cheapest guy in the world, but he made a good amount. I'm not saying he was like some, crazy multimillionaire, but for Northeast Ohio, he did pretty well. So I think that was a big motivator for me, because I always felt like, hey, if I could make a lot of money, then my dad won't need to worry about it as much, and then we can spend more time together. So it's very parallel a little bit in that sense. And that really was something that made me realize oh, I'm doing this just because I want my father's attention. And I think that's I think that's ultimately what makes a lot of founders tick, is some deep-seated early childhood longing to be paid attention to by their parents.
Sure. Not that I'm any different, just haven't arrived at your status yet. So we'll see there, right? To be determined. And do you feel as if you have succeeded in that regard, like winning attention from your father? What's the story there?
Well, funny story is when we took the first secondary at Zen, it was a couple $1,000,000 or whatever, or not whatever. That was good. He was on his deathbed actually. And he hadn't walked in a year. He was in a nursing home, and it was November 5th of 2021. And he died April 9th of 2022. And so kind of one of the last times, not the last time, but one of the last times I saw him, we got to have that celebratory moment of kind of the acorn becomes the oak in a sense, which was kind of a little bit of a passing of the torch. And he finally understood what I've been trying to do my whole life, because he wasn't technical at all. He did not understand. Yeah, sure. He didn't the fact that I didn't sell something physical in the world, could not comprehend. And he just thought it was oh, JC just doesn't want to have a job. Right. So I finally got to prove to him that what I aspired to do was real. It was working, and people actually cared about it, and it was helping people. And that was an awesome moment. We had a lot of really great conversations after that, because the thing is with my dad, and and I think with a lot of people in particular, like, the proof is in the pudding, and like nothing ever counts until the wire hits, right? And that's kind of the kind of guy he was. So once he saw it, and he was just like, okay, I get it now. And that was,
Oh,
didn't mean to swear, but that was great.
yeah. Hey, God rest his soul. Glad you had that moment together, and that you're carrying his spirit with you somehow.
Totally.
I'm sure, and reflect on that. And I wonder how that's shaped you personally, professionally.
Since then, obviously, like you go through like the grief period. And one of my co-founders at Zen, his father passed away when we were working together, and maybe 2 years before mine did. And we had a conversation one day, kind of like heart to heart on like our dads. And he told me, he's like, hey, at some point, there's going to come a time where like the grief period is over. And the things that like in your day-to-day life that remind you of your dad, that used to make you like break down and cry, they'll actually like be happy because it's like, oh, like they're still with me in some capacity, right? And so I didn't believe him at the time, of course, but over time that started to happen, and I was like, you know what, this is great. So it's like, yeah, I definitely carry a piece of him with me in the torch, and also like a lot of the things he taught me, like I weave into my day to day, at the company, and things I kind of inject into the culture are a lot of them, stem from kind of just what he taught me growing up. So yeah, it's part of the fabric of, Zen and, the new company.
Cool. Yeah, we'll dig into the new company soon. When you're not working or thinking about the next big thing, JC, what are you most likely doing?
I read a book called Range a long time ago, and essentially like the snapshot of the book is like the more range you have across more different life experiences, the more you're able to draw from the experience of all of those and then bring them together to like problem solve in your daily life. And like one of the examples they gave was like Roger Federer didn't start playing tennis until he was like 17 or something. And before that, he did like a million other things, like played instruments and baseball. I don't know, maybe not baseball, but like I forget what it was. And so to answer your question, it's like I love like the Bezos like puttering thing a lot, because that's really what I do. Like I literally, like when I'm not working, I don't have any plans, and I kind of just let the world take me in terms of inspiration. I'll go out and just like Larry David through life, and I kind of just chat with people, make jokes, and get into situations. And I really just try and like do things that inspire me that aren't rigorous. I don't like to have this structure. I mean, I think all founders have this big ego need for freedom, and I definitely do. And so I really just like to have the freedom in my free time to like do whatever the hell I want. I really don't try to make plans on the weekends. I definitely don't make plans in advance for like traveling and vacations. It's kind of like, oh, I feel like going here, go.
Cool. Wow. All right. And speaking of going places, are you now you're in Texas? Or
Currently,
are you in London as well? Or
yeah. So I
is
live in
that plan
London full
scrapped?
time. No,
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
London's not scrapped. London is awesome. I love London, but I haven't been there through the winter yet. So, but living in London, full time for the company, the new one, have employees in 7 countries right now, which is exciting. Just a little tease there, but yeah, loving living in Europe. I mean, it makes all the strategic sense in the world. It'd be really stupid of me strategically to try and run a European company from Austin, Texas, not being able to be in the markets that we, want to go to.
Okay. Yeah, it's percolating a bit.
Mhm.
Before we dig in still on the new company in stealth, and there may be some interesting. Well, I can hardly resist. I do nonetheless want to ask because we invest in immigrant founders, right? And you've got that feather in your cap somewhat yourself now. In general, the difficulties, the benefits. How would you like? Were there any unexpected perks or challenges to living in London? And how do you balance that ambition and growth with building a life abroad?
It's been more perks than challenges, but the thing is as like a problem solver, I think like the challenges are so annoying that like I just like obsess over them and want to fix them, but like I have to just kind of let it go. But the international exposure you get in London, I think, versus almost anywhere else in the world I've ever been, and I've been to, close to 50 countries, I think is unmatched. I mean, maybe I'm exaggerating here a little bit, but I mean, I feel like I can't walk through the streets of London without hearing like 30 to 40 different languages be spoken. And that is a beautiful thing. And it's been so amazing to get such a rich cultural experience, being able to meet so many people from all over the world. And it's so much different from New York, right? New York's like people go to New York and they become a New Yorker. They get sucked in to like being a New Yorker and like being American. Whereas with London, I feel like you can like people come to London and they can still be like the person that they were before they came there, just in a new setting, because all of the their types of people exist in London, and they can find their local communities, which I think is such a unique and great thing. And being exposed to that on a everyday basis just really broadens your mind to like more than just who I am. It's like this collective, which is great. The washer dryer situation is dog shit. I think like that is terrible. The fact that
What's that? I have no clue.
I mean, they have these combination washer dryers everywhere, and the dryer doesn't. The dryer does not dry. I get it. It's to save energy, and energy is expensive. But like, oh my God, laundry is the bane of my existence in the UK. But and then so I'm essentially a comedian that just got placed into the role of a founder here, and then they have these tubs, right, that are like so high off the ground, and every time that you get out of the damn
That's
thing,
true.
you almost
Yeah.
slip and die.
No,
Okay.
correct. Yeah.
Dangerous tubs, lack of dry. So, those are like the pesky things. They're not that big. They're not that big of a deal, but like I like to kind of observationally joke about it.
Sure. And also, I mean, your business building background is
Right.
specific to helping others flourish in that
Hmm.
context of building businesses of their own. Right. So we're kind of getting a
Totally.
little meta here, but the fact that you're doing that in a foreign country and encountering the challenges around bureaucracy and whatever else, it's evident that there needs to be innovation on this front.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, my purpose in life isn't really making money. It's really to help people. And that's where I get the most of
Nice.
yeah, it's absolutely where I get the most of my fulfillment within the context of like the European market. And I didn't know this, but since 2008, I believe, the last, kind of 15 or so years, the GDP of the United States has doubled compared to the EU. Did you see that recently?
I of the US has doubled. Yes, naturally.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
becoming a museum here. Right.
Yeah, and great museum, by the way. But
Yep.
that I was like, wow. And that, I mean, I think really the root cause of that is like lack of innovation, compliance, regulation, bureaucracy, all that. Which obviously it's a problem. But the thing I've noticed, being like coming from with an American mindset, like growth minded, like anything is possible in Europe, and I'm really trying to reframe how well, I guess I'm thinking about it, but maybe I can help reframe how others are thinking about it. Which I go to these founders events and conferences, and like this lack of innovation due to regulatory is like front and center in everyone's mind. But the way they talk about it, I think needs to be reframed, which is that like yes, it's challenging. Yes, like it's a lot of like it feels like a lot of complaining, which is fine because it is something worth complaining about. But really, like as a founder, as founders, I think we all just need to look at it as like a fun problem to solve, because like we're here to solve hard problems. And like this is a very hard problem that is very solvable just in general with regulatory and compliance and lack of innovation, through thinking differently. And so I look at like the European market as like a fun problem to solve.
Cool. Cool. So it's nice to have addressed that why or come upon it. I didn't realize that your purpose in life, in essence, is to help others.
Yeah, my executive coach like beat it out of me in like the best way possible. So I got an executive coach, and we did this like life purpose exercise over a couple sessions, and like really that was like the one thing that makes me tick more than anything is just like helping people, and helping people start businesses to give themselves a better life is an amazing thing. I also own after Zen, I was thinking, oh, I wanted to do some philanthropy and give to charity and stuff. But the one thing I realized is like, hey, I'm really good at making money. And if I can help people and make money at the same time, then I have more money to help more people. So I started a substance use disorder facility, rehab treatment for drugs and alcohol in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And, that's really helping people. I mean, I mean, helping people start businesses is very important and like amazing. But I mean, we're like changing people's lives. And I mean, when I went and visited recently, I had someone come up to me and like tell me that we saved their life. And they've been in and out of incarceration since the time they were a kid. They were 46 years old. They'd never been clean or sober once in their life until then. And it was the longest that, that'd been 3-4 months. And they were like, man, you saved my life and I'm never going back. And that shit is powerful. Like in some ways, it almost makes software seem a little silly, but it gives you perspective, right?
Sure. And interesting that you've got a CEO coach. I mean, a lot of folks do who are successful, and it gets lonely at the top, or however, you need to hear yourself think maybe and keep yourself honest. Any other insights you've extracted on that? And because you do seem like a lot of guys, myself included, I've got to learn how to harness my emotions to even understand what they are and to acknowledge them and work within that framework instead of, I don't know, I'm just beginning to scratch the surface there, but it looks like you appear to be content and in tune. And that takes a lot of hard work to accomplish that, no?
Totally. I mean, I don't think I ever could have made it through Zen Business without my therapist. That's for damn sure. It got, hairy there for a while. It's like, it's funny because a lot of founders have big egos, right? I think you have to have a big ego to think you can start a, multi-billion-dollar company and succeed. But it's funny because it's like, they're always looking for this. They're always looking for an edge. Look at like, Sam Bankman-Fried with all the like stuff he did with the patches, and they're always looking for an edge, but the edge is the emotional edge, like for sure. And there's no better edge than that, because when you have a coach and a therapist, which I have both of those, and mentors, the thing is like you literally have a totally objective third party that is 100% out for your best interests. So you get this like compounding brain power from really putting yourself out there and having what you're putting out in the world being reflected back to you in a different way. Gives you a ton of perspective. It allows you to like better handle the stress and increase your resilience when things are so incredibly heavy and stressful. You have this like new extra muscle that you wouldn't have if you didn't, go through those avenues for support. There was one other thing I wanted to say, and it just escaped me, but yeah, I really believe there's no edge better than like, emotional curiosity about oneself.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Cool. And they say money is a form of energy as well. So you have to have that emotion maybe to, the wherewithal to do something super difficult and succeed. Well, I think this is as appropriate a time as any to reveal the cards a little bit as far as what you're up to now, post Zen, right? Post 100 million ARR plus,
right?
Unicorn. What's going on now? What are you in the trenches on?
Without divulging too much, because we're still in stealth. Essentially at Zen. Well, I think the good way to frame this is before Zen, when I was in my mid 20s, everything I've done in the course of my life and career has been in pursuit of helping small businesses. Every job I've ever had, every company I've ever started, it's like literally 100%. So I worked at Facebook or Meta prior to starting Zen a few years before, and I ran all English speaking business pages globally. And that really gave me the perspective that it's not hard to start and run a business in America. Like, it is hard to start and run a business all over the world. And so, obviously we all know like my past and like my passion and purpose here. And so really, digging in and figuring out a way to like take Zen Business more on a global scale to make it really easier for folks to pursue their dreams and passions of, starting a business out of opportunity and like helping, put food on the table out of necessity, not only potentially in Europe, but around the world, has been a really, really exciting journey so far. And so, we're still early days on that, but, that's the trajectory we're going on. And there's a lot of new opportunities, beyond what existed when we started Zen, around the world, and especially with like AI now. Like, I'm not saying like this is going to be an AI company, so please don't get that in your heads. But there's a lot of internal uses for AI that like can really accelerate opportunities for potential and aspiring entrepreneurs around the world.
Okay, so what is, if you could just help break it down, because it's still a little murky, maybe intentionally somewhat, but what's the difference between Zen and what you're building now? Is it the geography fundamentally? Are there?
Yeah, I mean, well, exploring the geographies. Yeah, I mean, the thing is like, America's one country. You got a whole lot of them out there, and so exploring the geographies, and then really, looking across markets, because there's so much nuance in terms of regulatory compliance, cultural language, that now more than ever can be solved with a lot of like AI, which is good. Again, we're not an AI company, but also the complexity is much higher. And so this is a much more difficult problem to solve, which that is the opportunity, right? To create defensibility and for us to cast a wide moat in what we do next. And the thing is like, we're still feeling around in the dark for the opportunities, and there's a lot that are coming up, and we're figuring out how to prioritize those. So in no way is this a carbon copy of Zen. There will be some adaptation or adoption rather of like, the biggest learnings from Zen. But, for all intents and purposes, like we're going to basically internationalize the ability to, pursue entrepreneurship.
Okay, I'm becoming curious. So yeah, just stop me if I'm digging too deep. But Mike Maples from Floodgate wrote a book recently. Pattern Breakers, perhaps, might be the name. It escapes me.
I think so. Mike's a good friend of Capital Factory. I've never met him in person, but I've attended some of his talks, and I've always really liked what he had to say. I haven't read the book yet.
Cool.
Since you recommended it, I'll pick it up like I always do.
Okay. Yeah, sure. And like the crux of it, I believe, is centers on, well, there's technological, regulatory, and socio-cultural inflection points, right? Not that it's an Uber 2.0, but that there's something fundamentally different, and one is taking advantage of that rift in the market or what have you.
Totally. Yeah, I mean, we're going through a platform shift right now. And so the noise that's out there is very difficult to navigate. So it's really staying focused on like our core beliefs and not really deviating from those as much as we can, because, technologically, like there's a huge opportunity. In terms of regulatory, massive opportunity. What was the last one?
Socio-cultural.
Yeah, I mean, sociocultural is, I would say, less of an opportunity, but more of a necessity in terms of like the ability to, personalize experiences to, to end users and customers across different geographies. Like localization, I think, is starting to be unlocked in a meaningful way, much more, or a more scalable way, rather than like throwing like, bodies at problems in different countries. Ideally, that's my hope. But yeah, I mean, I think from a forward-looking perspective with respect to the new company, the opportunity is out there. All I see is dollar signs, and all I see is pain. And it's really figuring out how to alleviate that pain across different geographies. Of course, we're going to, help people start businesses, right? But there's a lot of other things that go into that now start to get much more interesting, much more exciting, much more innovative, of things we always wanted to do at Zen that we couldn't, but now we can. And that's the really exciting part of this, is like our ability to like actually see through the North Star vision of Zen, like on a global scale.
And referencing AI, and it's not an AI company,
right?
You use it internally. to your benefit. What about the entrepreneurs you help? Do you see any ways they can impact their own lives and any potential risks?
It has to be something that they're interested in, right? So it's like, I don't ever try and change people's natural behavior. They have to think of our customer base kind of worldwide, right? Like at Zen, for example, it's predominantly 80% first-time solopreneurs, right? Kind of across like freelancers, consultants, skilled trade. And that pretty much persists anywhere in the world. The percentage of skilled trade is higher outside of the US than it is in the US, because for probably many reasons. So as like a founder of a CEO of a tech company, second tech company, it can be really easy for all of us in like VC land to like be in our ivory tower a little bit. But like at ground level, like, our customers really like, they just want to give themselves a little better life and put food on the table for their families. And so, AI isn't the most prescient thing in their minds. Like it's like getting that like invoice paid, or having someone like, or getting a new project to work on. And so those are the things that we think about, but it's very easy for us to go off into like, this future state stuff, but I feel like do a really good job of like tempering that and being like, hey, we have to remember that like, Marie from Spain, who's 32 and has 3 kids, single mom, like, and is a graphic designer, freelance, like she doesn't care about AI. She cares about like getting that next project off the ground and making sure she can get paid.
Cool. So we're focusing a little bit on the human element overall, right? Versus AI, in terms of your driving purpose, the customers you serve, and their ability to put food on the table. What about your team, right? You've got folks across 7 countries. Do you hire for, when we look at the non-tech factors, any traits in them that matter more than people realize?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the thing is like being able to do the job extraordinarily well is table stakes, right? That's why at Zen and, at the new company, we are fully remote, because it gives us the ability to recruit the best because talent is everywhere, opportunity is not, right? So it allows us to recruit the best like talent from everywhere, number one. And what are the characteristics I look for personally? Number one is like curiosity. Like curiosity, I think, trumps for me kind of everything, because I'm just an inherently curious person. Like, you asked me about what I do in my free time. One of the things I do in my free time is like, I just like rabbit hole in YouTube videos on like random stuff that I'm curious about. Like, I don't watch shows really. I don't watch movies except for on an airplane. Like, I did a whole 3 hours on like the history of map making the other day. Like, nobody wants to watch TV with me. So it's this like intense and intentional curiosity of like wanting to like learn it all. So like I like to position us as like, I don't want to ever be a know-it-all. I want to be a learn-it-all. And I want everyone that I surround myself with to also share that same passion for like learning as much as they can. So curiosity, number one. Number two is humor, because humor is the fastest way to know like intelligence, right? Because it's almost impossible to be funny and not be intelligent. And then also like, if you have humor, then you can, it's going to create a fun culture, and it's going to be lighthearted, and you're not going to take everything so seriously, because, sometimes, you see a lot of founders who are militant, and they're just like, drill sergeants and everything.
Founder mode. Right.
Yeah. Which, founder mode feels like micromanager mode to me, which that's the other thing is like, if you're really good at recruiting, you like as a leader, right? You should be hiring people that are way better than you, that like tell you what to do. Like, I really believe leadership works up and down, and I expect every single person that works for me or works for the people that work for me to be telling the people that they work for what to do. Like, that was an end around way to say it, but like, I don't want I want everyone to feel empowered and have ownership over their piece of the world. Like, as a CEO, my job is to go to go get the sandbox, to let them go play, right?
Solid.
I just get, ideally, like, help them be successful in their personal lives and careers in any way I possibly can. And I just am a total support structure for that. And they all know they can always call, text, email me anytime, day or night, and I'm always here for them.
Cool. And how about co-founders? Are you a solo founder?
No, it's Raf and I again. So Raf and I founded Zen Business together. We were the original two founders back in 2015, and then we met then the rest of our co-founding team kind of 2016. We had 6 co-founders at Zen, and all of us are still close and still friends, which I know is like the exception rather than the rule. And I still play. I still go get dinner and drinks and play golf and go out with my other co-founders from Zen. And I know that doesn't happen, and I do not take it for granted. Like, it's very rare. I don't actually know of many other companies where that's happened, especially when there's 6. But like Raf in particular, Raf and I are we are two completely opposite sides of the same coin, and we could not be more different, but more complementary at the same time. And I think it's incredibly rare to find that, and especially with someone who you not only get along with because they're so different from you, but also trust, right? And so like, I am like outgoing, gregarious, super positive, optimistic, and Raf's more introverted, super like I'm more people motivated. Raf's more money motivated, which is great. And I'm money motivated too, but we have a balancing scale. And then, he's obviously highly technical. Like I would, I hope he never watches this, but like I would say product genius. I love product, but I'm going to go very high level, and I'm just going to like basically make shit up that isn't probably technically possible. And then he's just like, no, you're an idiot. Yeah, no, you're an idiot. And here's why. And I'm like, okay, fine. So, but the thing is like, we never tell each other our ideas are stupid, but like we say no to like 99% of them together because like they're mostly bad. But the thing is like we encourage each other to like have ideas and not like hold back on an idea that even if we think it's bad, because it could be good. And like, obviously it's a idea meritocracy at the end of the day.
Cool. Yeah, an unlimited upside at a startup. So you want to encourage that exploration. Cool. Yeah, great. Back to Palmer Luckey, being a twice over unicorn founder. Do you have that capability, JC?
We'll see, but I got nothing better to do. Do I believe that I can do it with every fiber of my being and have the confidence to do it? I do. But we live in a world of statistics and probability. And while the probability of me and Raf creating a second unicorn is higher than those that have not, the reality is like anything can happen. Like, world is a crazy place. Like, market can go south. Like, anything can happen. But all things kind of being equal, yes, I absolutely believe it, because I know the market's there. I know the opportunity's there. It's execution, which I know we can execute. But there's other factors that are out of our control. And so whether or not we succeed or fail, it doesn't mean anything about me as a person.
According to your CEO coach.
Yeah. No, well, yeah, more according to my therapist more so, but my net worth is not my self-worth, but I want to do it. I have a chip on my shoulder. And the thing is like, do I think I have the capacity to be a second time unicorn founder? I do. Does it mean that it's going to be this one? I don't know, but it's, hey, nothing worth doing is easy, right?
Yeah. Nice. What's the best piece of advice you've ever received from a mentor? And how did it impact you? What advice do you give to others, right, to pay it forward?
Oh man, gosh, it's like, I feel like I have so many and none at the same time.
And do you have any noteworthy ones that our audience would be intrigued by? Does that not matter per se?
From a cultural perspective, because I think you can tell I put a lot of emphasis on the human aspect of tech startups, because it really takes people. Startups are hard, and they're not just like kind of hard. They're incredibly hard and exceedingly stressful. I will never go so far as to say like it's the hardest job in the world, because obviously like I would never want to do a hero job like military, firefighter, first responder, any of that. Like, I believe they have much more difficult and much more stressful and traumatic jobs. But I mean, but next to that, I would put it up there in terms of like stress, emotionally taxing, physically taxing, just drains on your energy, can't sleep, there's all of that. And so what I really the best piece of advice I ever got in terms of culture, because everyone just goes crazy in their mind and their subconscious is trying to attack them, and everyone thinks everyone is out to get everyone. And so to create like psychological safety within the team, Ross said to me early on at Zen, co-founder, now current CEO of Zen, he's like, look, we are here to protect each other. That was the best piece of advice I've ever gotten. Once that was like instilled into like the founding team, and we all knew that we weren't trying to, subvert each other for equity or ownership or all this shit like greedy people do. It really just opened up the rest of the world. And then that permeated through the rest of the culture. And it's a culture of really like, we know it's hard and we're here to protect each other, and it's stressful. And like there's nothing we haven't gotten through, in our lives up to this moment. And then there's nothing we won't get through together. That was like the first thing. The second thing is, and I'll give myself credit for this, when I started Zen, I was 27, nobody, still didn't have any experience and was very green. And I was, founder, CEO, and we were burned through our initial like 400 grand, a friend's family round. I was like 50 grand in debt on my credit cards, like wasn't sleeping, just couldn't get out of my own head, like couldn't be present with any of my friends, family, girlfriend at the time. And I was trying to get 25 grand out of Ross as like an angel check, because I would have gotten that 25, got 25 from another partner, Capital Factory, and they had this matching program where they would match with another 50. And all I was trying to do was just get out of debt. And I was desperate. And, we were sitting there one day at Austin Java, talking, and we'd met with Ross like 6-7 times. And he's like, shit, man. He's like, I'll give you 25 grand. And I was like, really? He's like, yeah. He's like, but I want to be CEO. And I was like, yeah, like you got it. And so in that moment, out of, desperation and wanting to see the company succeed more than I wanted to see myself succeed, I did something I think a lot of founders wouldn't do, which is I like put my ego aside for the good of the company. And I feel like that one decision I made kind of made all the difference. So the point here is like, I would really encourage, first time founders, second time founders, like if I find a better CEO, I'm kind of being a little facetious here, but like, yeah, I would consider it, right? Because I don't have an ego other than wanting to see the company succeed and to see entrepreneurs succeed. And if I'm not the right guy for that, then there's someone better, great. So I would encourage, first-time founders, if they have the opportunity to make the company successful and they don't get to be king at the same time, take it. Because essentially I got a front row seat to a blitz scaling startup and an MBA at the same time that I also got paid for, that made me rich. And so, you don't get those opportunities in life very often. So I think you really need to like really be introspective about them when they come up. And then I think I had a third thing, but it escapes me right now. If I think of it, I'll come back to it. But I mean, that's kind of the best advice I ever received and the best advice I could give.
Cool. Would love for you to come upon that third bit. I do want to include something encouraging, a reference to Mark Randolph, who alongside Reed Hastings, I think prior to him, he had been the founder of, or CEO rather, of Netflix. And interestingly enough, having relinquished that role, ended up founding a second unicorn in Looker, which I believe was acquired by Google years back. So yeah, statistically,
it's a good playbook.
Cool. So
right,
we got it. Good.
I got the third thing. So one of the things that we always had the opportunity for at Zen, but we were always very cautious about, which can get you into real trouble, is that not all revenue is good revenue. You have to be very fastidious about like only focusing on good revenue, right? It's really easy to go down like the partnership path to hell or the referral thing, just to kind of like make your numbers for a quarter or a year. But next thing you know, like two quarters, 3 years down the road, like you are addicted to that revenue. You can't get away from it. It has a deleterious impact on your margins, and it just like crushes you. And so, not, best advice I ever got for like from a business perspective is like, not all revenue is good revenue.
Solid. Nice hot takes too here so far, a little bit. Just a kind of a last fun question that occurred to me. We've asked it a couple of times previously, and it might elicit an interesting answer.
Yep.
Okay, let's imagine you're invisible for a day. What is it you accomplish?
Oh, if I'm invisible for a day? Oh, this is good. What do I accomplish in a day if I'm invisible for a day? I mean, immediately I want to rob a bank, right? Is that immediately I'm robbing a bank. But let's take crime out of it. I mean, petty crime, right? If I'm invisible for a day, I think that I would probably, honestly, I would just prank people. I would literally just go screw with people all day. Like if I would go to Starbucks and someone's coffee sitting on the table, I would just like move it to the other side, and like that would be what I mean. That would be an accomplishment because it'd be so damn entertaining for me personally. And I would just screw with people all day. I could probably think of 40 pranks I would pull at this moment, just messing with people's day.
Cool. So we'll part on that note. JC, founder of Zen, founder of Unicorn, number 2 in the works.
Yep.
Yeah, and a thrilling. Yeah, enjoyed the conversation here. We'll have to do it again on the island or elsewhere, but enjoy your time in Texas, and we'll talk soon.
Awesome. Hey, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thanks, everybody.